We're joined now by Reid Wilson, the editor of National Journal's Hotline. Reid, thanks so much for joining us.
Hey, thanks, guys. That was pretty good, wasn't it?
It's great. I love it. It's great to see Tina Fey back. Reid, you had a story this weekend. Obviously, we just talked with Amy about Jon Huntsman down there in South Carolina. And you had a story looking at Sonny John in Palmetto State. And it is interesting. He goes down there and he does put this very optimistic speech towards college graduates. But do you think this is a potential strategy for him to separate himself from the other Republicans who are just harping on all of the terrible things that President Obama has done or hasn't done? And maybe he can separate himself a little bit from the pack this way.
Well, it's clear that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to show that he is a different kind of candidate, that he can appeal to more sort of diverse demographic groups than any of the other Republicans can. And his strategists really think that that's the only way that they can beat an entrenched incumbent like President Obama, who may not be hugely popular at the moment, but let's not forget he was he sort of appealed to all segments of the electorate in 2008. They think he can do it again in 2012. Republicans, according to the Huntsman people, need somebody who can counter that. I think that was really what we saw there. You know, a guy who wears skinny jeans and plays rock music in a band and mentioned, you know, he mentioned Ben Folds and Rod Stewart more times than he actually mentioned President Obama at all. So you know, there's sort of a different approach to politics than we're going to see from many of the other contenders.
Oh, no doubt, and he's going to have to bring a little bit of a different swerve, I think, if he's going to have a chance to overcome some of the things that are there so far. Yeah. I want to get your sense, Reid. We've heard so much about Republican angst over the current field. This Chris Christie, this delegation of Iowa activists who are headed out to New Jersey to try to court Chris Christie into the race. How real is this right now, and how different is it from other cycles where we've seen a party out of power say, look, we just don't have anyone good out there?
Yeah, we see this every single cycle. We see that, you know, in 1988, the Democrats were the seven dwarves. In 92, they weren't much better. You know, after Mario Cuomo decided not to run, and some guy from Arkansas who nobody had ever heard of ended up being an incumbent president in a time of war. So, you know, this sort of happens every cycle. I feel like it didn't happen in 2000 because there was such an obvious Republican frontrunner in George W. Bush. It did happen in 2008, though, and everybody tried to woo Fred Thompson into the race. They got him in the race. He wasn't necessarily terribly interested in actually running. And now in 2012, here we are yet again. You've got a field that hasn't fully formed yet. There are a lot of people still to get in. Newt Gingrich getting in later this week. Mitch Daniels. Mike Huckabee looks like he's got more and more of a path to victory. Jon Huntsman. I mean, this field is not by any means formed, and yet this obsession with Chris Christie and some of the other possible candidates who aren't going to run at all and have made that clear just continues. It just reminds me of every other cycle we've seen.
Reid, do you think this is, you know, on Christie's part, he's just going to entertain all of this flirting from Republicans, but what ultimately will he do?
Yeah, I mean, I would if I were a governor and I had no intentions of running, but I've got a lot of people trying to keep me in the national spotlight. Let's not forget that Chris Christie has to run for re-election in just a couple of years, in 2013. When he does, he's going to need a lot of money. He's going to need a high national profile, and he's going to need to raise all that money to get elected in what is otherwise a really Democratic state in New Jersey. So if he, you know, this is only good for his own political future. Yeah. There's no reason to turn people away from Drumthwacket.
All right, Reid Wilson from Hotline, thank you so much. This is the Hotline present and past. This is the big props to that great tip sheet out there. Thanks so much, Reid. Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, guys.
All right, that does it for this edition of Top Line. Twitter.com/RickLine, Twitter.com/Karen Travers. I'm imagining the next debate could be a jam session. What do you think?
Oh,
you got the Huntsman on the keyboard, we got Huckabee on the guitar.
Who wears the skinniest jeans?
Who's on percussion? we need to take our nominees. Tell us now.